everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel, where I show you how to combine manual stamping and card making techniques with elements created with the Cricut. My name is Lubomira, and if you enjoy this video, please click the like button. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel. Today I have a really cute card featuring mama elephant images on a background made with the help of a stencil created by the Cricut. I'll be showing one traditional use of the stencil and another not so traditional. Let's jump right into the program. Today's Cricut project is super easy, and we won't be needing any additional downloads. We'll be using the shapes provided in the main program. To start, I'm going to insert a square and resize it to 4 1/4 inches wide by 5 1/2 inches tall. Remember to unlock your size tool to make that adjustment. This helps me plan out my project and keeps things proportionate. In addition, the stencil I'm creating is specifically made for this card size. I'm going to duplicate this rectangle because I'll be working on 2 stencils. Then I'm going to set those to the side. Next, I'm going to insert a heart. The stamp image I'm using has a heart in it, so I'm going to play off that and incorporate it into my design. The Cricut default image of the heart is way too big for what I had in mind. I'm resizing that to 1/2 inch, and I want my image to be as wide as it is tall, so I'm unlocking the sizing tool when resizing it. Then I can duplicate my heart so I have 4. I'm making a very simple design, so I want to make sure my measurements are precise. The positioning tool will help me achieve that. Since I'm resizing the hearts to the same height and width, it will be easy to position them the way I want with accurate spacing. I select my first heart and plug in the coordinate 0, 0 into the positioning tool. The heart moves to the top left corner of my grid. I want my hearts to be 1/4 inch apart. Since I'm working across left to right, our x-axis will be changing and the y-axis will remain the same. The next coordinates will be 0.75 and 0, followed by 1.5 and 0, and the last heart will be at 2.25 and 0. I select all my hearts and I attach them. Next, I duplicate them so that I have 4 rows. After that, to position them where I want them, I leave my first row positioned at 0, 0. This time, I'm going to be aligning my images from top to bottom. My x-axis will stay at 0 and my y-axis will change. My second row of heart is at 0 and 0.75. Then my third row is at 0 and 1.5. And my last row is at 0 and 2.25. Here I'm going to select all my rows and weld them together. Next, I'm going to duplicate my hearts and set one bunch aside while I work on my first stencil. I'm going to select one set of hearts and one rectangle. Then I'm going to head to my alignment tool and click at the center option. This will center now I can slice my 2 images. This will center my hearts and rectangle perfectly. While both are still selected, I can slice my images. And since I don't need those center hearts anymore, I can delete those. That's the first stencil completed. I'm going to set it aside and start on the second one. Here, I'm going to select my remaining rectangle and position it to 0, 0. I want my hearts to be offset slightly from the center on this stencil. To achieve this, I first move my hearts to 0 and 0.75. My hearts are lined up against the left side of my rectangle and 0.7 down from the top. I like that positioning, but I want my hearts to be over to the right and center. To do this, I'm simply going to select both images, the rectangle and the hearts, and then align them using the center horizontal option in the alignment tool. This moves my hearts over, but not down. Finally, I can slice that image, and that's the completed second stencil. Now that we're done designing our stamps, we can go ahead and make them so we can use them in a project. The plastic that I cut them out from, I purchased from Amazon. It comes in large sheets of 12 by 12 or 12 by 24 inches, and that's plenty to make this stamp and many others. The first thing I need to do is stamp out some images. I chose Mama Elephant's Fuzzy Hugs stamp set for this project. It comes with some great sentiments and large images that you can color. The animals are so sweet in this set. My favorite are the 2 snuggling penguins and the heart. I'm going to take this image and using the Misty, stamp it with Simon Says Intense Black ink. This is an alcohol-friendly ink since I plan on using Copics to color. My coloring isn't the greatest in the world, so I try to keep it simple. I start off with my lightest shade and fill in the entire area. Then I use my darkest for shadow, and then I go over with a medium before returning to the lightest and blending out. If you're interested in the colors I used, they are listed in the description below. After I'm done coloring, I set my penguins aside and bring back my Misty. I place my stencil with the centered hearts and card background into the Misty. Remember, I cut my stencils out to be the same size as my base, so now they both line up perfectly against the edge of the Misty. For my sentiment, I chose Fuzzy Hugs and Warm Wishes from that same stamp set. I wanted to fit in the center, and it's not hard to find the middle. With my stencil on top of my paper, I put my stamp where I want it and close the mini Misty door to pick up the stamp. I take out the stencil and I'm ready to stamp. First, I prep my paper with some anti-static tool. I'll be heat embossing my sentiment, so this ensures a crisp impression. I'm not sure what happened to my footage of stamping and putting the embossing powder on, but it picks up right before I melt it. I used Versamark ink to stamp the image, and then I used gold embossing powder by Hero Arts. After embossing the sentiment, I put my stencil back on my cardstock. Off camera, I die cut a stitch border around my base. Now I replace my stencil over my background and hold it in place with washi tape. Earlier, I had cut out some of those hearts from a red cardstock when we were making our stencils. I'm going to use my stencil as a guide so I can pop my hearts into place. Now, here is the tricky part. I want my hearts to pop from the background, so I'm going to be using some foam squares to prop them up. To get the positioning right, I have to first put in the foam squares before actually placing the hearts on top of them. Once the foam squares are in place, I squish the hearts onto them so I can get the proper aligning. It's not as difficult as it may sound. I simply line up the point of the heart first and then press the rest of the heart into place, lining it up with the stencil below it. Once I've completed all my hearts, I gently push them back through the stencil and take removing them. After I remove the stencil, it reveals how perfectly aligned the hearts are. Now I can prop up my panel and put it down on a card base. I use Neeah Solar White 110-pound paper for this. Once my panel is attached to my card base, I go ahead and place my little penguins. Before I'm done, I go back with a shimmer pen and add a little bit of glitz to the hearts, the heart that the penguins are holding, one of the penguins' earmuffs, and the penguin's hat. And that finishes the first card. The next example, I'm going to use my stencil in a traditional way. First thing I do is I place a piece of paper to protect my workspace. Then I take my second stencil, the one with the hearts a little bit off center, and I secure it to a card base using washi tape. I use washi tape on all four sides to make sure that the stencil stays in place. I'm going to be ink blending using Distressed Oxide Inks. I love using these inks because they go down so smoothly and are really a breeze to blend. I'll be using Festive Berries, Pickled Raspberries, Worn Lipstic, and Spun Sugar as my colors. And I'm going to start with my darkest color in my bottom right-hand corner, and I'm going to be blending from dark to light. After I'm done blending, I use that same stitched border around my background. I go ahead and die cut it off camera. Then, using the Misty, I stamp my second sentiment using Versamark ink so I can make a little banner. I pre-treat my cardstock, stamp the image, put my embossing powder on, and heat it until it becomes smooth. To create my banner, I use a banner die and I run it through my die cut machine off camera. Once I have all my parts, I can assemble my card. I pop up my banner on some foam squares along with my penguins, and I use some foam tape on the back panel to adhere it to my card base. I place my penguins at the bottom of the hearts and my banner in the larger space below. The only thing I did not show on camera was I went back and colored in the hearts using some shimmer pen along with the earmuffs, the hat, and the little heart the two penguins are holding. And that concludes the second example. Thanks so much for watching. If you did enjoy yourself, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. Bye!